Aloha, it's Joe Pardavila, and you're listening to the Forbes Books podcast, and you never know when you're going to stumble upon a great company. For example, I discovered Hyperice when I visited my brother's home on the Jersey Shore. For some added context, my brother's going through a little bit of a midlife crisis. He works out twice a day, first on his Peloton, and then he goes on like a 7-mile run. And for my brother Arturo to survive those strenuous activities, he needs a lot of help with his recovery. And that's where Hyperice comes in. The full suite of Hyperice's massage and recovery products can be easily found scattered about in my brother's home. So what's Hyperice all about? Today I'm joined by the company's CEO, Jim Huether. Jim is here to talk about how Hyperice became a world-class leader in the recovery and health tech industry and how they allow people, like my brother, to exceed all of their personal goals and expectations. Jim, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Joe. Big fan of the podcast.
Thank you very much. And, this is a great time for you because you're in the sports space, as they say, and it is Super Bowl time. We're a couple weeks from the Super Bowl. Talk to me about how Hyperice fits into that aforementioned, I think I just made up the term, sports space. You guys are the global leader in recovery and movement enhancement technology. So what does that mean?
Yeah, so we're a company really focused on creating high-performance wellness products that help with, movement, longevity, and overall wellness. So we've been in the market now for almost 10 years, actually a little bit over 10 years today. And DNA and roots really are based in pro sports. So the company, I don't know if you knew this, but Hyperice actually came from Kobe Bryant's Hyper Dunk shoe. He was one of the first athletes to help us with product development initiatives really early on. Huh. The Hyperice Nike kind of Hyper Dunk connection is very well known. But we've been at this for 10 years and really have been focused on innovation around products and technologies that can advance performance. And we've used a lot of our athlete relationships and relationships with pro sports leagues, teams, trainers, performance experts to continue to be able to see around the corner and develop the next big innovation. So this week coming up, next couple of weeks leading into Super Bowl, big opportunity for the company to tell that story in a meaningful way.
And for the non-athletic person, as I am now, my marathon days are long past me, and I wish Hyperice was around when I was running marathons because the pains of the recovery. But for folks not familiar, you guys are one of the top makers of that, what's the term? The massage gun? What is the terminology for that thing?
That is one of our products. So Our Hypervolt is, massage guns have become very popular. We have kind of the leading product in the space, almost the Tesla Dyson-esque device in the space. And then we have a variety of other technologies and modalities. So you look at percussion technology, vibration technology. We have pneumatic compression, which is air compression to increase circulation for the legs. Great for marathon runners and Ironman athletes and such. So we've created kind of a holistic offering of suite of technology devices that can help people in all varieties of life do what you love more, right? Whether you're a dad who just wants to be able to move more effectively and play with your son, whether you're a pro athlete, a Peloton rider, an Equinox goer, someone participating in Ironman, all of our technology can help you move better and essentially live better.
Cool. And give me a little background on the Hypervolt, that massage gun, which I don't even know if that's what it's called, but I think it's easy for people, they get the idea of what it is. They're popping up everywhere. And as you mentioned, you guys are sort of like the Dyson of that sort of space. But where did these come from? Because I felt like it's like BC AD. It's like the times before these existed and now the times where they're everywhere. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, so they're in 2016, we actually partnered with the company, ended up acquiring the company. We developed a product called the Raptor, which was a really high-end percussion gun. So a massage gun, but it was $3,000. It was very sophisticated.
I'm sorry, what? $3,000?
$3,000, yeah. So it was more of a performance device for training rooms, for pro sports. And believe it or not, we sold, millions of dollars of that product. Wow. But it was, multiple speeds, multiple applicators, very sophistication with the motor technology. And we started realizing, wow, okay, this is big. Like, people are really liking this modality. It's not only, it feels great, but it also has, scientific evidence-based results from what we're delivering to the end consumer. So we started focusing on how do we make this more of a consumer product and started the development of the Hypervolt in late 2015, early 2016 We launched that product in 2018. We wanted to create one of the most powerful percussion devices ever made that was also quiet. Because there were some people at that time developing jigsaws, and they'd put like a ball on the end of a jigsaw and it'd be really loud. And we said, we want to be sophisticated. We want to develop a product that delivers the performance, but is also quiet, sophisticated, using advanced motor technology at a price point that would be good for everybody. So we launched that product at $349 on February 24th, 2018. Sold out in 6 hours. I'll never forget that moment. And from then on, I mean, the company has grown 30x over the past, 4 years, and continues to advance as we bring on new technologies.
Wow. And if I may use a cheesy business term, what was the secret sauce that allowed you to sell out in 6 hours for basically a new item? I know it's sort of like the consumerized version of an item you're already making, but why do you think there was such an appeal that quickly?
I think it was a combination. It was almost a perfect storm. We had a strong brand that was associated with athletes, right? So people saw LeBron and Kobe and Dwayne Wade and Tom Brady and all these people using the product. So we had like a lot of brand credibility used by the world's most elite athletes. We also had pretty strong distribution. So we had partnerships with the Equinox and Best Buy and all these places where people would purchase our products. But we hadn't developed kind of that it product that could scale. And when we did this and people realized, wow, this feels really good, it has scientific benefits, and it's very easy, lightweight, I can use it, just grab it in my hands and use it at any time, anywhere. We just kind of, I think the secret sauce was the brand was there, but most importantly, people just really loved the product, and it spread like wildfire. So our data at that moment in time said that everybody who was buying a Hypervolt was telling between 8 and 10 people.
Wow, that's awesome.
What is this new device? It's amazing. It's quiet. It's powerful. It feels so good. And so our marketing budget at that time, we only spent, I think we did almost, 65 million in revenue that first year with the Hypervolt. Jeez. And we only spent a couple $1 million in marketing. It was all word of mouth. And so it was a phenomenon. And then from there, obviously, competition started emerging in 2019 and 2020, and we continued to advance our technology. But that launch, February from 2018 to the middle of 2019, was just an incredible time period.
Wow. And I read somewhere there was like 20x growth in like 36 months, 9-digit revenue with operations over 60 countries. Yep. How were you able to develop that scale so quickly? Because it seems like, I mean, I know you guys have been around for a decade, but the fact that you were able to scale up so fast, were there investors involved, VC? How did you do it?
We raised money, but not a lot of it. So going into 2019, company was doing over $140 million in revenue at the end of 2019, and we only had 39 employees.
Holy jeez.
So, I mean, we had great employees. And again, a lot of those employees, almost all of them, are still at the company. We were very strategic, very tactical, but we didn't have to raise a lot of money because, we were generating a lot of profit. Even through, we had our investment round at a 700 million valuation in 2020. And that was essentially before that round, we had only raised $4.5 million since the inception of the company.
Wait, so then how were you able to make all that product with only, that, I'm sure you had more in the bank, but like essentially with the $4 million, how did you pull that off?
We were just generating a lot of profit. So we were able to put the profit back into, our CapEx, back into product development, back into inventory. Yeah, it was lean and mean operation, but we had a pretty good strategy and great distribution partners, and it worked out really well. And I think at the end, what's most important about this category, I don't know if you've kind of read up on the health and wellness sector, but they say this wellness industry, which is valued at like 4.4 trillion right now, is going to grow at 10% all the way through 2025, and we'll reach $7.7 trillion by 2025. And when you break out the categories of that, you have kind of your health and wellness fitness, you have your personal care and beauty, you have your travel and tourism. But what's so interesting about this category is you really can play in everything, right?
Right, you're the sort of the connective tissue because all of those elements or sectors you touch upon, whether it's yoga, your dad bod, working on a treadmill, or the Peloton freak. All of those people sort of like will fit into your scope.
That's exactly it. And people always ask me, and it's funny when we're raising money or investors and shareholders, because they say, as CEO that always ask me like, what's the addressable market? And sometimes they'll say the addressable market is every human that moves,
It's
right?
true, yeah.
And you obviously have to narrow that in. Okay, what's the, affluent population, or where exactly are you going to shoot the arrow? But the reality is everybody on earth can benefit from the products. Like, it has physiological benefits that everybody can benefit from. So it's almost a matter of where do you focus and where do you go first, where do you go next. That is a big part of our strategy and rollout. And
how do you cut through? Because the Hypervolt, you've got it down to a pretty good cost, a couple $100, but there's a lot of that space is very crowded right now. Like, if I went down to my Costco, there's probably something similar that they're selling for a couple $100. So I get that you guys get the brand recognition, but how do you cut through to the consumer and tell them that, hey, that one over there is just not as good as this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think we do a good job of marketing the product differentiation. I mean, you compare it to like a Dyson vacuum versus like a low-end vacuum you could buy on Amazon, or you could buy, on eBay or something. Of course, people are going to pay for quality. They're going to pay for technology. They're going to pay for durability. And so we're at the premium level of the space there for sure. But we do have products at a lot of different price points. So we have percussion devices, Hypervolts, from $199 all the way up to $399, right? So the everyday consumer who maybe was going to spend $149 on a percussion gun or massage gun is going to say, okay, this is the Hyperice brand. I'm going to jump up to $199. Okay. I'm going to make that leap from $149 to $199. And then I think the education piece and also the distribution is always important. Like, we have partnerships with the Equinoxes and Lifetime Fitness and Best Buy and Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, Dick's Sporting Goods, REI. You're not going to have, knockoff products or low-end products taking up kind of that premium real estate like we are. So we're well positioned in those type of places as well.
Famously, I know Peloton's going through a rough patch here, but famously, they sort of took off when they raised their price, which people are like, wait, how did that happen? And I remember the CEO a few years ago came out and said, the Peloton bikes were a lower price and people wouldn't buy it because the affluent audience was like, it's not that expensive. It's not appealing to me. Then they raised the price and these bikes exploded. So because they knew what their audience was. Do you feel like with yours, even though you said you have this wide spectrum of prices, like that premium one, that's your sort of grade A, that's the one that people gravitate to, right?
It is, and you're right. But we did launch a product called the Hypervolt Go, which essentially was our $199 device that was for the on the go everyday consumer.
Right, throw in your bag kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, attach it to your golf bag. We actually have a partnership with the PGA Tour, and all the athletes have it attached to their bags. And that has been very successful for us. So the scale on that product has been pretty tremendous. So we do still want to always maintain kind of being this Nike, Lulu, Apple, Dyson, Tesla-esque type brand.
Right.
But we do want to make these products available for everybody because that's the goal. Like, we want every human. And the reality is, you and I on this call, we are the target audience for Hyperice. It's not Patrick Mahomes. Right. Patrick Mahomes uses our devices. He's an investor in the company. We have a partnership with the Chiefs and the NFL, and we'll use him a lot to spread the word. And we want him using our product for performance advantages, of course, for football. But the reality is we scale with the everyday person at home, the dad, the yoga lover, the person who's going and riding their Peloton bike. That's our core consumer.
Yeah. But also what you do with a lot of those other aforementioned companies there is a sort of a low barrier of entry for folks who want to be like, man, I don't know if I want to spend $300, but I'll spend like the $199, because a lot of those companies, as you know, Peloton until recently, they didn't lower that price under $1,800, and Apple for a while those phones were $1,000. So, so what was the thinking behind that? Why was that important to you to be able to come up with a lower price point for folks?
Yeah, so we felt that we had a lot of audiences, particularly in the fitness space, that were really needing the devices. And some of them were writing us and saying, hey, like, we love your brand. We love everything you stand for. We love the mission, helping everybody move better, live better. And we just can't get to $349, right? Yeah. And we felt like if we want to be the company that changes the world in this space and creates a new category at the high performance wellness space for a really long time, we got to broaden our audience. And we made that move at the end of last year. at the end of, essentially at the end of 2020.
Was there any
And
pushback from within, Jim? Because I feel like you guys are such a high-end brand. Were there people within the company in your ranks? You know, obviously you don't have to name their name, but were there some who were like, hey, come on, Jim, this is we want to be the the Neiman Marcus in this space.
Yeah.
We don't want to lower ourselves. Was that ever a discussion?
It was a discussion. So we had a lot of long, deep conversations around this product, and I think it was great for everybody. Like I was on both sides of it too. All of us were. But we ended up aligning on, let's make this an incredible product, consistent with the brand. At the core, we deliver great products and we deliver great experiences with our products. Yeah. So what we said is, let's try to make a product here, and it has to be excellent. And if it's not excellent, we'll shelf it. And we ended up being able to bring something to market that we felt was very consistent with our brand ethos, and it's one of our top selling products.
And like everything you do, you seem to do it quickly. How were you able to turn that around so fast to create this sort of vertical for you, where it's like kind of lower price product?
That was our fastest get to market product development initiative ever in the history of the company.
Wow.
We did that in from start to finish. That product was 8.5 months. Which generally for us, a year to 2 years is kind of our product development pipeline. We do a lot of testing. And so we had to basically get this market produced in 4 to 5 months. So we'd have at least 3 to 4 months of testing.
Yeah.
And we did it. Our product development team nailed it. I think our marketing team nailed the launch, and it's a great product. You should definitely try it. If you're a golfer too, it's really popular in the golf community.
And you've name dropped a bunch of your partnerships, and recently you announced a new one with Ironman. And
yes.
For someone who tried to do triathlons, but I couldn't swim, so I stopped doing it. It's a pretty tough sport. Ironman or triathlon, whichever one you want to try. Talk to me about that partnership and why it's so important to the initiatives there at Hyperice.
Yeah, this is a big one for us. And to take you back in time, we acquired a company in the beginning of 2020, Normatec, which I don't know if you've tried our compression boots, our air compression boots, but you'll often see a lot of athletes, both endurance athletes and pro athletes, wearing these black boots, full leg boots, and that's our Normatec device. So we acquired that company. They had a really strong presence in endurance and had a long-lasting relationship with Ironman. Gilad Jacobs, the founder of Normatec, was deeply embedded with the Ironman team for a really long time. I think 9 or 10 years they had worked with Ironman. So when we made that acquisition, a big part of it was Hyperice, now all as one, Hyperice and Normatec, really want to address that endurance market in a meaningful way. So we sat down with the Ironman team and said, how do we expand this? How do we make this global? How do we do some innovative things that have never been done before, like build recovery zones at the finish line of the Ironman events? We built in a retail component that is really interesting, like a recovery zone that's set up at every single Ironman throughout the world, which is pretty unique as well. The experience of that is really unique. But the reality is these athletes are completely in our target market. To your point, their bodies are beat up. They're competing at the highest levels. They're doing all sorts of preparation to get themselves ready for the actual races. So it's not only an important marketing vehicle for us, but it really is a good sales and mission driver for us, because that's what we're all about, like helping people do the things they love more. And these athletes are very connected to the technology and the brand.
And like any company, you have to have an app, and you do have the HyperSmart app, right? Is that the one that you guys launched a couple of years ago?
That's it.
Talk to me about the importance of these. Like, why do you need this app? Why did you guys have to get into the software part of things?
Yeah, so we really liked this angle, and this is something that we're very passionate about. Personally, I'm very passionate about as well. HyperSmart for us was a way to connect into wearable devices, extract activity data that's personalized, and then recommend routines with our products in connection to your data, right? So we felt that there's all these athletes and they're getting unbelievable data from Whoop, Garmin, Fitbit, Apple Watch, right?
Yeah.
And our products help you physiologically, right? So we're trying to advance the way you feel and advance the way you move and advance the way you perform. So if we could interact with your data and show that we could through interpretation of that data, recommend routines that would enhance the performance of your data, that would be a huge unlock, right? For example, if you run 3 miles and your heart rate's X and you love tennis, right? You're going to get a piece of content from our app right after your activity post tennis from Naomi Osaka's performance coach, right? Telling you what to do with the device you own. So what this does is it not only creates a deeper connection with the consumer because we're able to personalize our recommendations based on their activity, but it also unlocks more utility of our devices because now you know what to do with the products, which makes the products more valuable.
And talk about the investment in that, because
Yep.
we've been talking about the fact that, most of the stuff, it's hardware. You're making a product, right, whether it's a low price, high price item. You develop all these other hardware type devices that lend to what Hyperice does. But what was that like trying to get into this app software content space? Because it feels like you have to almost build a new company from scratch at that point.
Yeah, well, it was very new for us, but we had a great tech team. Our VP lead of tech, very sophisticated, and was able to navigate a lot of challenges to get up and running really quick because we had a really short timeline to launch this product. And I think for us, we learned a lot. I think we made a couple mistakes early, candidly. Like we made the app a little bit too complicated to start and had to scale it back and simplify it. We were almost offering too much data. And so we pulled it back a little bit so we could get the user in, get them to like understand it a little more, and then slowly guide them with more data and more features. But it was something completely new, but we knew that if we did it right, it would significantly add value and utility to all of our devices. And at the end of the day, what's most important is for the consumer to gain value from interacting with the app. And so it was really a win-win. Our consumers really loved it. They learned about the products, how to use them, and then why to use them, right? Why am I feeling better in my lower extremities? Because I'm using my Normatec device for air compression. Wow, okay, that's why? That's amazing. I want to go tell 5 people about that, right?
And as a CEO,
Yep.
your background was finance, marketing, all that, your usual, the usual stuff that's on the CV of a CEO. But then all of a sudden, now you have this tech element. Was this like a MBA program for you in terms of what you learned along the way?
Yeah, it was. And I mean, we have great people on the technology side. Like I definitely had a vision for what we wanted to be in it. I think we captured that vision. There's still a lot of work to do. But I think that the reality was we knew what our consumer wanted and we knew how big it could be. And it's not there yet. We're still in the early stages, and to be candid, there's still a lot of things that we need to improve on the app, and we have a pretty strong roadmap. But it was something that, we're a company that's always taken risks. We just have like prudent risks. Like we want to continue to innovate, and we want to lead this space. And sometimes we'll come up with products that we don't end up releasing, right? Because they weren't great. But this was one of those where we said, we're going to try this because it's completely new, completely different, and very innovative. And I think what we learned there is a lot of the wearable device companies really liked what we were doing. And now we're going deeper with them and creating kind of proprietary partnership elements with them to unlock more data, science, research around what our devices do to the human body.
Is it possible, or was it possible, to survive without adding that element to your company, or you felt like it was to embrace tech? Was that something you just had to do?
No, it wasn't. I think we could have been. I don't think it was something that we necessarily needed to do, but I think it really created a positive kind of energy around the brand. And whoa, okay, they don't only make hardware, but now they're going to go and try to innovate software and in connection to the hardware, right? That's what was so important. If we were just going to go develop some other app that didn't have anything to do with our products, that would have definitely been a leap that, I think we would have got a lot of pushback from.
Yeah.
But this was something where, like, at the end of the day, we're teaching people how and why to use the products. And if people learn more, like, for example, if you have a Hypervolt, right? You're going to be like, okay, I'm sore here. It feels good here. I'm going to use it on my leg, right? I'm a little sore there. Now I feel better. But if you know that you can use it on your lower back or your feet to unlock back pain, right? And to remove back pain, and here's what you do to remove back pain, we just added a lot of value for you to want the product. So I think the education component is complementary to the value proposition of the devices.
And you've seen such an amazing evolution in sort of your sect of the fitness industry, because I think when you first started running Hyperice, it was what you would call a niche, right? Within the fitness industry, but it's no longer a niche, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's. I remember we were raising money really early on too, and a lot of people thought, okay, well, we were raising money at like a 10 million valuation or something really early on. And people were like, I think you could probably maybe get this to like 50 million valuation. Recovery is going to be kind of a niche. And we were saying, no, it's not, because we can affect everybody, right? This wellness is only going to grow. People are going to understand more about their bodies as science emerges. Then what you're doing to the body and how you take care of your body becomes more important to people, right?
Yeah.
I think a big transformation, though, was actually getting out of just being recovery and shifting into more of high performance wellness, so that people just don't think, okay, I can only use the products after, because that's not the case. You can use the products for warm up. You can use them for everyday maintenance, body maintenance. And that expansion has really helped us too.
And what kind of growth did you guys see over our pandemic times, or the dark times, as I like to call it? Like when people just start, embracing working out from home, and whether it was buying an expensive bike or buying one of those mirrors or doing some online training. What kind of growth did you guys see there?
We had pretty rapid growth in 2020. It was definitely a shift to digital, obviously. And we made that shift pretty quick, but I think we grew by, a little bit less than 50% during the pandemic. So it was a pretty big growth year in 2020 specifically. And I think we had to transition our business a little bit, because we had really built our business model around delivering experiences, right? You'd go into Equinox, you'd go into Lifetime Fitness or Orange Theory and try the devices. And when the pandemic hit, we had to make a really quick shift, right? Okay, how do we reach the customer? We still have, the customer's still there. We just have to find them in a different place now, right? Like, where did the Equinox customer go?
Yeah.
and how do we find them? So I think that was actually one of the years I'm most proud of in my career at Hyperice. I've been with the company for a little bit over 8 years now. And 2020, I was just really proud of our team. The team battled. They were very strategic, ultra creative, and just kind of kept fighting. And we tried a bunch of things that didn't work, and then we tried a bunch of things that worked really well, that are now part of our broader strategy.
I feel like relationships have been a big part of the success of you and Hyperice. And, the companies you've mentioned that you've worked with, and, obviously your partnerships with Apple and such. For the young CEO listening, or even the old CEO listening, how do you develop those kind of relationships? What's the magic behind Jim Huether and your team there?
Yeah, we're very partnership centric. I think one of the most important things that I've done personally in my career, and so has a lot of members of our team, is make sure that we're not just trying to network with the top person who makes the decisions all the time. We're networking with everybody at every company at all levels, because someday the person you're dealing with, who at the time might be not the decision maker, will be a decision maker somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. And so we've really focused on every interaction we have as a company. We need to treat that partner as if they are a VIP top priority. And we've done that now for 8 years, and I think it makes us very different. And if you ask our partners, if you were to call like an Equinox or a Best Buy or any of these people and say like, hey, what do you think about the Hyperice team? Top to bottom, I love these people. I love the employees. They're so great. They come back with ideas. They're really easy to work with. So that's kind of in the DNA, and I think that's helped us foster relationships and grow them. And then, of course, I think just there's a lot of people in the company who had deep networks in sports. And that's allowed us not only to have the accessibility, but also to kind of maintain the connection, so we can get ideas from all these scientific experts and performance trainers who like love the movement of the brand and want to say, hey, I have this idea for a new technology or product. You guys could do this. Great. Maybe we don't do them all, but we get really good ideas on what we should do to see around the corner positively. So I think you picked up on it and you nailed it. That has been a key attribute to the company's success so far, and will continue to be something that we focus on in the future.
And it seems like it boils down to culture, because all those things you've mentioned are all a result of a culture that you've built there of high-performing individuals who obviously are talented, but they're also empathetic to people and able to communicate and develop these relationships. There's so much written and spoken about culture. I'm sure you probably have a poster up in the office that talks about the company's values and all that stuff, which I always like to joke is like, Enron also had their values up on the wall, but you saw where that went. So it's more than just that poster. How do you infuse that culture with people, especially when it comes to new people coming on board?
Yeah, it really comes from the leadership team. I think we focus on it a lot. We try to. One of the biggest things that we try to do is allow people to have opportunities for growth in the organization, so that we give people room to grow and expand and learn. And some people will shift from department to department, but everybody that comes in, we look for aptitude for learning, people that really want to learn and grow. Like, we don't necessarily look for people that would just stay in one role for 10 years. Like, we want to find the next VP of sales, right? Or we want people that really want to grow, learn, and take on new responsibilities. We have everybody read The Energy Bus when they onboard. and while that book, I love that book, and there's parts of it that some people could say are cheesy, right?
Yeah.
But the message there is really important. And I think that our team kind of is inspired by that type of energy, just in collaboration across the board. And then there's kind of a hustle mindset too, right? Like, we know that this is not easy. It's a new category. We're kind of going where no one's gone before. We're gonna shoot and miss from time to time, and we just have to be able to be resilient and rebound and go for something else that is successful. So we allow people the room to make decisions, and from time to time that people can be wrong, and that's okay. We'll learn from it and then correct it and do something that's big.
Talking with you, Jim, and I don't mean to psychoanalyze you too much, but it seems like you are not afraid to fail. And I know if you mentioned a business book there a second ago, but it's like most of them say, embrace failure, do it. It's very nice to say that, but in theory, it sucks. I'm sure it does. And as openly you speak to failure, it sucks. Yeah, it is what it is. So how do you get through the suckiness of failing?
Yeah, you just have to always be looking forward. That's the key. Like, you cannot let your mind dwell on things that happened in the past. You learn from those, but you don't go too far back, right? Because at the end of the day, after tomorrow, you are where you are today, right? So there's I think a lot of leaders can get sucked too much into the negativity, the negative energy around something that went wrong, and it ends up pulling away from the focus and energy on doing something that you want to do that's right? Or that works. So the company does a really good job, in my opinion, learning from mistakes or things that didn't work, shifting the mindset quickly into how we can make things work positively, and then just letting that go and moving forward, right? Because if we want to be a company that's transformational, we're going to have to take some risks. You look at Tesla. That's one of my favorite companies. I love Tesla. I've loved it for such a long time, since the very beginning. Like, I just love the vision. I love where they went. I still love how transformational they are. They had a lot of errors early on, right? And there were
still
so many people. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
People were like, but the vision was there. The mission was there. They never wavered from the mission and the vision. And you saw a continuation of focus around, this is just a blip, right? And we're going to move forward, and this is too big to let a blip or something that happened negatively affect the future. Of course, we haven't had like these huge things that have happened that are bad by any means, right. But I think that we're good at being able to shift the mindset to try something, doesn't work, shift quickly, try something, that works, let's go there. And I think that adaptability is really a competitive advantage.
Well, sounds like you're doing a pretty good job of it, Jim. His name is Jim Huether. He's the CEO of Hyperice. Jim, thank you so much for the time. Have fun at the Super Bowl. Hey, you're a CEO, so remember, you can't party too much. It's in Los Angeles this year. So please, you got a lot of eyes on you out there, okay?
I appreciate that. This has been an awesome one. If you make it out there, let me know. And we have a cool setup at the NFL house with some athletes and such. So if you do end up making the trip, definitely come by and check out our recovery experience.
Look for Jim. He's doing keg stands over there in the...
maybe in college. In college, definitely.
All right, Jim. Have a good one.
All right, Joe. Have a good one. See ya.
Absolutely, and that's it for this episode of the Forbes Books Podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure you take a quick second to subscribe so you automatically get new shows when they drop. Also, if you have a minute, I would love if you left us a review so more amazing entrepreneurs like yourself can discover the show. And please, don't forget the golden rule and treat others as you want to be treated. Thanks for listening. Until next time, adios.